everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am excited that you're back listening to another episode. And if you're new here, welcome. We talk about books, romance books in particular. We know that I am not a big fan of any other genre. I will listen to a good mystery or thriller, but I will not read it because I won't stay interested. So if that sounds like you, let's be best friends. Let's be book best friends. Let's be on all the bookstagrams, all the book TikToks. Let's talk about books because that's why I'm here. Obviously, today's book is incredible. And before we get to that, though, a couple people have been messaging me, for real. And they're like, "Hey, we don't want to read this monster of a book." And I said, "Girl, I understand. I'll read it for you." Have I started it? No. What I'm talking about is The Born of Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. Haven't started it, but I will. I will in the next couple weeks. I can promise you that. I don't know when the episode will come about. Probably next month. It depends on how long it takes me to read this book. And also I've kind of been waiting for my best friend Kat to start listening to it. I am talking with her today. We're going to schedule a call. Just kidding. We call each other all the time. And I'm going to tell her like, "Hey, we got to start listening to this or I'm going to leave you behind because I'm going to start it." It's coming. I promise. So you don't have to wait. I mean, we've waited this long, for this book to be released. So I will try not to delay it anymore because I know we got to get through it. And I hope it sums it up enough for us, you know? Like, I just hope that it is good. I just hope it's good. Okay, there are no other announcements or anything that I have to say, really. I'm sure that there were a lot of book releases and fun, exciting things, but I'm like, meh, haven't really looked a lot. And I'm still getting through my TBR. I haven't added anything lately, except for today's book. I added it like a couple days ago, and then I was like, oh yeah, okay, I need to do an episode on this. Because this author, Hannah Bonam-Young, has started to become more and more popular. And I've been seeing her name around more. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the Amazon page. That's where I get all of my Kindle stuff. And I'm going to look at the highest rated one. And I'm just going to go with that. And I did. She has probably 4 or 5 books out right now. But I went with this one. It's called Out on a Limb. And the tropes that is in it is like pregnancy, friends to lovers, around those, which a lot of people aren't big fans of, like the pregnancy trope. I don't mind it as long as I'm like prepared for it. If I'm not prepared for it, then I'm like, oh, okay. Not that it's like a thing, but it is when I'm not prepared for it. And this one, obviously I was prepared for it, and it was done so well. It was so good. Like it was like tactful, and it was like, it wasn't dramatic, and it wasn't like, I don't know, it was just really done very positively, and it didn't overshadow. I mean, the main book is about like the pregnancy, but I didn't feel like it overshadowed anything about their relationship or about like really the plot. Like it was just so good. Like this book was so good. It was so sweet. Okay, y'all, I've mentioned this in other books before, or other episodes, I guess you could say, that I like to read books while I'm on the devil's lettuce. And it just is such a more immersive experience for me. And I feel like I vibe with the characters more when I do that and like retain everything better. Like it's just like an experience, and it's so fun. Like I really enjoy it. And some of this book, I was on the devil's lettuce, and I like to write down my thoughts too when I'm reading a book while doing that. And the one thing that I kept writing in my notes is it's a warm book. Like you feel warm reading it. Like there's nothing that is a red flag. There's nothing that you're like, oh, okay, that was interesting. Like nothing. Like you feel so comfortable reading this book, and it was just a warm feeling. And then I also wrote down, yeah, I kept writing down it's a warm feeling, and then I put it's as if you're in a forest looking through a cottage window at these people's lives. I literally wrote that down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, who am I? Like, that's the feeling. That's the feeling that I got while reading this book. And it was wonderful. And I can't recommend this book enough. Like, it was so good. And these characters were wonderful. And I really loved how she included disabilities in there. Our main female character and our main male character have disabilities. And I thought that was really refreshing. And it was very raw. It was very great. Like I really, really loved it. I keep telling my sister this because it happened with Christina Lauren's books and it happened with Abby Jimenez's books and now with Hannah's book. I've only read one of Hannah, but they are creating these male characters that are so incredible because they feel so real. They aren't like these big macho sports playing like grumpy, have it all together. You know, like they have flaws, they have quirks, they actually have a personality. And that's what I'm really vibing with lately. That even though this is like a single point of view, I still felt like I got to know this main male character. His name's Bo. I feel like I got to know him so well because he was described so well. And it's not even that he was described like his physical features, is that we got to know his personality throughout the whole book. Like he's funny, he has humor. Like he grew up like he's a nerd. Like I'll just say that he's a nerd. Like he loves like Lord of the Rings. He plays D&D. Like he is not afraid of that, and he has this like good group of friends, and he's so sweet. And we'll get into it. We'll get into more of Bo, but it is just such a refreshing take on these male characters and just making the situations for these relationships so real and raw and relatable and like different dynamics. And I'm really loving that. I'm really loving that. Okay, so let's talk about the mother-sister standard. Would I recommend this book to my mother or sister? Yes, I absolutely would. I will tell them that it is a little bit more spicier than the previous books that I've recommended to them, like Christina Lauren and Abby Jimenez. It's more spicy than that, but it's done very tactfully, and it's not like a really crude description. Like the spice in here, they like think about it, but there's actually like a storyline, and they're not constantly thinking about sex. They're not constantly like at each other's throats. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a very gradual, and it's spicy at the beginning, just because we know that this is a pregnancy trope. And so it is spicy at the beginning, and then it doesn't get spicy until like the very end. So you have a lot of plot in between those points. I'm not going to say, of course, like all the nitty gritty details. I'm just going to go over what really kind of happens in the book, like skimming more about the characters, kind of the journey that they take us on. But I'm not going to tell you, like there aren't any like twists or crazy things that happen. It's just a beautiful contemporary one-off book that you don't have to really like stress about. It's just a nice relaxing read that if you're like, yeah, I just want something simple that I can really get into and like the characters, this is one of those books that you can absolutely pick up, and it's just incredible. Like I loved the characters. Okay, so let's talk about Winifred. She goes by Win in this book. Winifred and Sarah, so their moms were best friends in high school, which I love that. And I really hope that me and my best friend from high school, I really hope that we can stay close as we like go through our life and everything. Anyways, so their moms were best friends in high school, and they both got pregnant during senior year of high school. And from there, they raised the two girls together. So that's where Winifred and Sarah came from. And I think that sounds so fun. Like, even though they were like so young, but they moved in together. The two moms did. So the two girls were so close. They were basically siblings, and they just helped take care of each other. And I thought that was really beautiful. And then in ninth grade, that's when Sarah met Caleb. And I don't know if their story is in like a different book. I would love to know their story more. But yeah, they met in ninth grade, and then they just were inseparable, the three of them. It's always been the three of them. So Caleb and Sarah got married. I'm not sure when, but all three of them are just like, they're just best friends. And I really loved that. And Wynn is currently 28 years old. She works at a cafe, and she also does like some lifeguarding like in the summers and everything. And I did want to say that this book is based in Canada. And that kind of threw me off sometimes. With like locations, I was like, wait, where is that? And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's not out of the US. It's in Canada, which was really great. I really love that. I didn't understand the locations, but that's okay. Like it was really good. So she went to college, and I can't remember what she studied in. But she was also in a relationship that really was detrimental. Like she was able to kind of support him when he went to school, but then when she wanted to really continue her education, he was like, nah, like I'm out. And he just like, he really destroyed her confidence. He just was not a good guy. And so she is still very shy away from relationships, hasn't been in one since. I'm not sure how long it's been, but it's been a while. And her dream is to create this camp for kids with disabilities and really help them to learn to adapt to everyday life, to different types of equipment. Like this is what she really wants to do, because Wynn was born with an underdeveloped hand, which I thought was very interesting. And I wish that there was a little bit more about that in the story. Like I wanted to know more about it, but I could also Google too. Like, and that's what I'm assuming the author wants you to do, is Google and learn more about it. I also noticed that she did mention her hand and the things that it prevents her from doing really well, and kind of how it hinders her from some things, but nothing was ever negative. Like there were no negative feelings towards her disability. It was only positive, and it didn't overshadow anything. Like it was so, she made it so normal, which I really enjoyed that. Like, even though I would have enjoyed more, of course, like learning more about the disability, but it was just so seamless with the story that it wasn't really called attention to. And Bo, our main male character, he has an amputated leg. And even with his amputated leg, like you learn about it, but it's not brought up a lot. Like it's just a very casual, like, oh, he had his prosthetic right here. And like it's mentioned, but it never came into the story that it really like stopped him from doing something, which I really loved, because it shows that even if you have a disability, you are still capable of so many things. And I really, really loved that in this book. And while we're talking about Bo and his prosthetic leg, we might as well kind of get into more information about him. So he is 29. He's a financial analyst. He loves math. So he is pretty much a nerd. He's a geek. He loves D&D. He has comics. Like, he is described as like a very attractive male. Our Wynn is very attracted to him, and he's very tall. Not a lot said about like his build, which it's to each their own anyways with what we imagine in our minds. And he is an only child. His father is in France. Him and his father are like best friends, which I really loved that dynamic and that relationship. His mom died when he was about 12 weeks old. And that's really devastating to learn about, like how she did die and how it came into play with who Bo is as a person. And he felt like the death was his fault, even though he was only 12 weeks old. And that really created a beautiful story at the end of his growth of who he is as a person, and how he treats Win, which he always treats Win so sweet. He is like the golden retriever, little geeky boy that you just love so much. Like, he has a tender heart. We love Bo, and we'll get into a little bit more about him. Sarah always holds like an annual Halloween party. And of course, Win is going to be there. She is actually going to be staying the night too. Like, the guest bedroom is basically her bedroom, because she lives in like this really crappy little apartment. And so she goes to this party and she sees Caleb's friends around, and there's this really attractive guy, and they make eye contact, and then they start talking, and it goes off so well. Like, they get along so well. They're joking. Like, this book is funny. Like, it's not like the main feeling is humor in this book. It's like they're so quirky, and their banter is so fun that it really reminded me of me and my husband's banter. That it's just like jokes on jokes with like playing off of each other's jokes, like riffing with each other. Like, it felt so real that I like chuckled out loud a couple times, because both of them are such funny people. And I really love that. And so they're doing that. And then there's like a moment where they're like, oh, like, I'm really attracted to you. And he's like, I'm really attracted to you. They don't actually say that, but like, you get that. And then she's like, do you want to go upstairs? And he's like, yeah. And it's so good. So it's already spicy at the beginning, and the spice is pretty good, y'all. Like I said at the beginning, it's not like so overly detailed, but it's like pretty detailed that you're like, yeah, this is a good level of spice. And it's not too much that I'd be like, whoa, mom, like, don't, like, you can't read this. Like, if she read those parts, I would be fine with it. I think she would probably skip them because they are a little bit more detailed than what she's used to. I don't think my sister would skip them. They're around her level. And it was just enough for me too. Like, I probably would have wanted like maybe one more scene in the whole book. But it satisfied me. So yeah, that was so good. So they like get spicy, and then it cuts to when she's at the doctor, and they're like, you're pregnant. And she's like, oh, okay. And I loved that she thought through her choices. I really appreciated that little portion of the book, that she does have a choice, and she's like, no, this is for me. Like, I want a baby. Like, this would fit into my life. I'm so excited for this. Like, I can't think of anything else. And that was great. Of course, Sarah is her first one that she wants to tell because she's her best friend. And then a couple weeks go by, and she's like, I really need to find Bo. Like, I need to tell him that I'm having this baby, and not to expect anything, or like that I don't expect him to do anything. And so she talks to Caleb because Bo is one of Caleb's friends. They're not close friends, but we do learn that Caleb's sister Cora was engaged to Bo. And with Bo, he has his amputated leg. But he was diagnosed with cancer at 28. So he's 29. So it was the year previous. He got diagnosed with cancer in his leg. And when he was going through like all the treatments and everything, and it looked like he needed to amputate it or get it amputated, Cora kind of just left. And they don't like her. Like, Caleb and Sarah and Win, they don't like Cora. She's a B word. And so she just like left Bo, and he was like, oh, okay. So there's a little bit in this section, or like throughout a lot of the book, that Win thinks that he is still trying to get over Cora, that he's not over her. And so there's a little bit of that trope as well. So kind of skipping a little bit, but she gets Bo's number from Caleb. And Bo is like, yeah, I can meet you. Like, let's meet at a coffee shop. And so then she just like blurts it out when they're there. And how it's described is that he was so overjoyed. Like he just had a huge smile. He looked elated. He looked just like this is happening, like so excited. Did not expect that. Like, I for sure thought it would be like more of a shock, kind of like, oh no, like what did we do? But his reaction was instant. He then explains it that he never thought like there was a chance because of like the cancer and everything that he couldn't have kids, and he just like didn't know. And he has always wanted a family, especially with how like his mom did die. He wanted to prove to himself that he could be a good dad and just like have a great like family situation. And honestly, that is not the reaction that she thought he would have either. But like their chemistry is so off the chart that it just went so well, and he was so receptive to it. And she's like, oh, okay, well, like this is kind of what's going to happen. And he's like, let me help you, like how can I support you, like I will be with you whenever. And I don't know if Sarah started talking to him or how, but a little bit later, maybe like a week to 2 weeks, he was like, hey, move in with me. Like, I have a house. Like, you can be my roommate. Like, I just want to be around you. Like, I want to take care of you. And she's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I can do that. And so she moves in. And just from there, like, their relationship, their friendship, just everything blossoms. And it's just so beautiful. It's just so good. Like, I just, I don't know how else to explain. And like you can tell from my tone and how I'm talking. And if you're watching, you can tell how animated I am about this book. You know when I do enjoy a book. Like, first off, I will absolutely tell you if I enjoyed the book or not. So this is another one of those books that are going to go into my top 10. And she is going on my author list that I will read from her. I'm going to actually choose another book that she's written. I'm gonna read another one of hers because I enjoyed this one so much that I want to know more. And so they go through like their little friendship and supporting each other, and they're just enamored with each other without telling the other one, but they can each tell that they enjoy being around each other. And it's such a sweet book. And we meet Bo's dad later on, and he is so sweet. And it's just like I constantly had a smile during this book. Like I don't think there was anything that I was like, oh no, like it was just all a very positive, I keep saying sweet, but adorable book that there was nothing that I was like, oh, I'm not giving this book a 5 stars because of this. Like, honestly, so good. All of it. So good. Pacing was good. Characters, of course, are good. Like, they are respectful of each other. And there are different types of characters that I haven't like seen, like at least the descriptions, like I was saying earlier, that she makes Bo. I mean, we see this with the main female character. We see a very, like a wide personality range with the female character, and we get more in depth with that because most of the time it's through the female's like point of view. And so we really get to know them. But a lot of times we don't get to know these secondary characters like the main male characters, And this book felt like they were equal without telling his point of view as well, if that makes sense. But I think I wanted to know more. Like, I wanted to know more about her growing up with Sarah, basically being sisters. Like, I wanted more memories, like for them to tell each other more memories or like share more memories so that I could get to know them as like they were growing up. And maybe like a couple more scenes of their like interactions, like going places. But yeah, I think that's the thing. I just wanted more, even though it was very well done. But that's how much I did enjoy it because I just want more. But yeah, I hope that you picked this book up. And this is kind of, a shortish episode, which is okay, because I feel like I got my point across. Um, I don't know much. Should I look at my TBR? I don't know. Do you guys want to know about my TBR? Yeah, maybe. Okay. No, I mean, you can definitely click off if you want to, but let's check on my TBR right now. Okay, so I think I want to start reading Unwanted by Mia Sheridan. I think I want to start reading that next. I started reading White Horse Black Knight. I can't really see the name. Marceau is the last name. I saw it on TikTok and heard it was good. I am 11% through, and it's okay. Like, it didn't immediately like hook me in. Let's see. I think I wanted to start my Dark Romeo. I, y'all, I don't know why, but I still haven't finished The Game Changer by Lana Ferguson. And you know that I've loved her other two books. I don't know what it is about this one that I'm just not getting hooked in it. And that's alarming to me. So I probably need to finish that. Maybe that will be for my Thursday episode. I could do that. But yeah, I don't know why it's not hooking me, and that makes me sad. So, yeah, TBR. I'm always open for everything. I'm always looking at TikTok and moving things around. So if you have any book suggestions, definitely put them in the comments in YouTube. That's the easiest for me to see. Yeah, send me all your recommendations. Send me your favorite book that you've read recently. I really want to know that. I would really appreciate it. But anyways, definitely subscribe on my YouTube, and there are episodes there every Thursday that are not on the podcast. So if you want more content, go there. And yeah, let's just keep going. Summer is ending. Thank goodness. I am not a summer person, especially living in Arizona. So I am ready for those cooler weathers. And yeah, it'll be fun. So, anyways, thank you guys for listening, and I will see you next week. I don't know what else to say except that I do recommend this book. It's so good. I love this author. She's pretty new. I really just enjoyed it a lot. So, let's get more into kind of like the plot of the book.